want to talk briefly about procurement planning, identifying the project drivers, goals, preliminary risk assessment. And these are all things that an owner should do in setting up the design-build contract. First, identifying the project drivers. Most of the projects that we do are meat and potato projects, and minimized public impact is one issue. Schedule, cost, quality, they're always concerns and drivers of the project, but sometimes safety and environmental concerns are specific drivers for specific projects. And if there has been a safety problem or an environmental problem or a public perception problem, sometimes those things are key in setting up the procurement documents to take advantage and incentivizing the industry to develop their proposals around those concepts. Could be concerns with capacity, roadway geometrics, traffic. Could be political concerns depending on the local political environment. Could be economic development. Any of these are possible drivers that set up project goals. But in developing the procurement process, the owner should develop goals for the project. And they should be supported by the drivers. And they should lead to performance criteria or selection criteria. Why are we selecting this design builder? What's important to us? What are the key criteria that will make a distinction between a highly successful design build firm and an average design build firm, which will meet the requirements, but not give us the innovation and the quality that we're looking for? So it's a matter of setting yourself up for success and then rewarding proposers either through points or the criteria in the RFP, the selection process, and perhaps using incentives and disincentives where appropriate in the contract. And the goals should be based on the design build teams, the project team's perception of risk, completion dates, motorist disruption to the traveling public, could be involved with community input. A number of design build projects around the country have had local involvement and even involvement from the industry. Some states by state law require the industry to be involved in the procurement process, believe it or not. I'll show you an example in a minute. And also success in the long term. So these are all aspects that should be considered in setting up your project goals. This morning we had a question about risk. How do we analyze risk? What does risk mean to the owner? What kinds of risks should be considered? On the left side of this chart, we have the type of risks that the owner typically holds and owns during the bid build process. But in design build, the highlighted subjects are topics that typically are shed or allocated to the design build team. Could be geotechnical investigations. Some states have allowed the design build team to go out and take their own cores, their own borings, as part of the procurement process. Other states have said, here are 10 borings for this project location. Each design build team may ask us to take an additional 5. We'll be glad to do that. We'll share that information with you and others. And if you want more than that, there will be a cost for each additional boring. So at least there's a process where the design build teams can share that information and request additional geotechnical information if they need it from the owner. This is all part of the risk and sharing risk and allocating risk to the party that's most appropriately bearing that risk. So all these highlighted things typically go to the design builder. And these types of issues usually are considered in the development of the selection process and the RFP. So where are we going with all this? In a typical design build, which is quality-based, an owner typically uses its goals in establishing the evaluation criteria. How are we going to select a successful firm? Then establishing rating criteria, whether it's numerical, adjectival, or some other rating system. And then the method of award, what they sometimes call award algorithms. What is the formula, or how are we going to award the contract based on price and non-price factors? And I told Leah, I understand Tennessee is the award algorithm right now is low bid. Is that right for your design build projects? Cost plus time bidding may be used, but at the present time, you're not considering qualifications or quality factors in the award of the contract. DBIA, and certainly to an extent Federal Highway, believe that design build appropriately done, and the way to use it most successfully, you would incorporate those quality key factors in the selection process also. And maybe at some point in the future, when your industry is comfortable with it, you'll move to a process where you could include non-price factors in the selection of the design build team. So I believe your legislation actually allows for it, so you're set up for success through the laws that you have in Tennessee. But right now, in the interest of moving forward with the industry, your selections are based on low bid, and that's okay. Federal Highways acknowledges that, and a number of states still use low bid awards. But ideally done, design build allows for other factors to be considered also in the award process.